Here's your wrestling news for March 29th, 2023. And we're kicking off today with Vince McMahon, who returned to WWE in January to oversee the potential sale of the company. That's at least what WWE wants fans to believe, but many are sure that McMahon has bigger ambitions and is planning to usurp Triple H and regain the role as head of creative. While WWE have denied these allegations, Fightful Select reports that more red flags are popping up, which has had a significant effect on the promotion's morale. Talent who spoke to Fightful spoke about rewrites being made the day of a show and extensive creative plans being adjusted at the last minute, both tropes of McMahon's era in creative. Some also brought up the fact that McMahon was backstage during the March 6th Raw, and while WWE's official stance is that he was just there to say hi, Vince was sat at Gorilla all night and saw every superstar who went past. WWE and McMahon are well aware that him being publicly involved in creative would be a huge blow to morale, and Fightful did point out that there are signs that he isn't back in control. For one, there's not as many rematches as before, which was a trope of Vince's era, and some superstars pointed out that talent who McMahon doesn't like are getting used more. The concerns among the WWE roster have gotten so loud that they're even being discussed by those in AEW. And do you think McMahon is secretly back in creative, or are these superstars just being a bit too paranoid? Earlier this month, Ronda Rousey had some harsh things to say about last year's feud with Liv Morgan, saying the feud was hamstrung by a bunch of octogenarians who still think they know how to be hip. Rousey went as far as to say that those people put less than 5 minutes of thought a week into each woman's storyline, and she's not the only one who feels this way. In a follow-up, WRKD Wrestling reported that others backstage in WWE feel the women's roster has struggled to get the traction on the road to WrestleMania thanks to WWE's creative writing. For this year's WrestleMania, WWE has 4 women's division matches, with 2 being for championship gold, and a total of 18 women competing at the grandest stage of them all. For Rousey, a hairline fracture in her arm has changed plans WWE initially had for her, but what do you make to WWE's women's booking this WrestleMania season? Let us know in the comments. One woman who will be competing this weekend is Charlotte Flair, who is in the midst of one of her many reigns as a champion in WWE. Combining her reigns across Raw, SmackDown, and NXT with singles gold, Flair is a 15-time WWE Women's Champion, which has led to significant backlash from fans. Many believe that Flair constantly being in the title picture has cost other women and therefore brought the division down as a whole, but Ric Flair doesn't see things this way. Speaking on his To Be the Man podcast, Rick has said that since, in his own opinion, Charlotte is the greatest women's wrestler ever, it makes sense for the greatest ever to always be in the main event scene. Rick even equated his daughter to Stone Cold Steve Austin, saying that people had no issue with him headlining WrestleMania 38 after nearly 2 decades of retirement because they know he is one of the greats. Flair certainly has a high opinion of his daughter, who could possibly become the first woman to headline multiple WrestleManias this weekend, and according to Rick, he doesn't see what the big problem is. NXT news now, as this Saturday will be the promotion's Stand and Deliver event, and there's been a lot of talk about the NXT Women's Championship. After Roxanne Perez fainted following a successful title defense, Shawn Michaels announced that a ladder match would determine a new women's champion, but those plans have seen a major change. In a backstage segment during last night's NXT, Michaels had a segment with Perez and reported that she has been medically cleared to compete. While Michaels at first didn't want to book her in the ladder match, saying she wasn't at her best place mentally, Perez convinced him otherwise, making it a 6-woman ladder match for the title. Perez will now defend her NXT Women's Championship against Zoe Stark, Gigi Dolan, Tiffany Stratton, Lyra Valkyria, and Indy Hartwell in one of 5 title matches on the show. While Michaels chalked up Perez's fainting as due to exhaustion, there's no confirmation on what the real medical reason WWE pulled her from the ring is, and now the champ is back in action. NXT Stand and Deliver will take place the very same day as WrestleMania Saturday, which will prove to be an extra special day for Logan Paul. Not only will April 1st mark the Maverick's 28th birthday, but he will also be stepping into the ring with Seth Rollins, but this 5th match for Paul could also be his last. Speaking on his Impulsive podcast, the young superstar said that his WWE contract will end immediately after WrestleMania 39 and said he's had a good rookie year. That description is certainly apt, as Paul has blown fans away with his in-ring ability and has won over even his harshest of critics with his skills in the squared circle. The big question is now whether Paul will sign a new deal with WWE, and we expect WWE will make a play to try and keep him around. Between his YouTube career, his Prime Energy drink, and his budding boxing career, Paul hardly needs the money that comes from being a WWE superstar. But do you want to see the Maverick re-sign? Let us know in the comments. This Friday, Rey Mysterio will become a WWE Hall of Famer, which is a worthy accolade for one of the most popular superstars of all time. Mysterio will be the latest in an incredibly small number of superstars to be inducted before they retire from the ring, but that's not how Rey thought things would happen. Sitting down with the New York Post, Rey said that at first he was shocked that Triple H had asked him to be in the Hall of Fame and told the game, "I'm not ready to retire." Mysterio had at the time believed that he had to retire in order to be inducted and said that he plans on continuing to wrestle until he turns 50. At 48 years old, Mysterio only has a handful of years left in his career, but the former world champion won't let his upcoming induction stop him from stepping in that ring. This week's show saw an edition of Miz TV with Becky Lynch, Lita, and Trish Stratus, but the segment did more than build towards WrestleMania. The Miz started off by asking Trish and Lita how it felt to play second fiddle to the man in a clear attempt to cause division in the group, and it was Trish who gave the biggest sign that something was up. While Lita responded to Miz's style of questioning, Trish didn't respond, leading some to wonder if her silence will mean something bigger at WrestleMania 39. When Trish did speak, as she was asked about her Mount Rushmore of women's wrestlers, she also left out Lynch, something that didn't go amiss from fans online. On Twitter, fans predicted that Trish will be turning heel at WrestleMania, perhaps jealous of the success that Lynch has seen in the past 5 years, with at least one fan suggesting that she could align herself with Bayley. It's been reported that Trish and Lynch will face off against each other at SummerSlam this August, and while WrestleMania is just a few days away, WWE is clearly building to their biggest party of the summer. In 2016, WWE reintroduced their brand split, with Raw and SmackDown being two separate shows once again, but as of late, things haven't seemed so split. Instead, fans can often see the biggest names of Raw and SmackDown appear twice a week, and there's now been an update on this situation. Fightful Select reports that the brand split is effectively dead, and that both the USA Network and Fox have moved past the idea of Raw and SmackDown being noticeably different from each other. In 2020, WWE introduced what was known as the Brand-to-Brand Invitational, which said that superstars could appear 4 times per year on the other show, but Fightful's report adds that this rule hasn't been brought up ever since Triple H came to power as head of talent and creative last July. It certainly makes sense right now for WWE to feature their top stars, including Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, and Kevin Owens on both Raw and SmackDown, in order to build towards WrestleMania 39. After this weekend's show, WWE will want to look as good as possible to a potential buyer, so expect to see your very top superstars appear on both brands now that the split is effectively dead. As we all know, WrestleMania 39 is now just a matter of days away, but for many, the biggest story isn't who is on the card, but rather who won't be appearing on the show. Up until a few weeks ago, Bray Wyatt was scheduled to face Bobby Lashley in Los Angeles, but now that match is unlikely, and WWE said plenty last night without saying anything at all. During Raw, there was zero mention of Wyatt on the show, practically confirming that the former Universal Champion will be doing nothing at WrestleMania. On last week's Raw, Wyatt was featured briefly on a WrestleMania 39 poster, and no tease of him should serve as proof that whatever illness Bray has been dealing with, it will keep him from his first Mania back with the company. As for Lashley, we know that he'll be part of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal this Friday, and the Almighty has teased that he'll be facing somebody at WrestleMania, but we'll just have to wait and see who that ends up being. In 2022, several wrestlers parted ways with AEW, but only one, Cody Rhodes, would find his way to WWE. It's no secret that WWE has their eye on other AEW talent, including Kenny Omega and the reigning world champion MJF, but it could be Wardlow who is next to jump ship. That's at least according to Conan, who spoke about the dwindling momentum that the former TNT champion has been on as of late on his podcast, and said, "I'm not saying he can't be rehabilitated, but there was no reason to do what you've done to him. Unless he has heat, but the only thing you're doing is this guy who is good-looking, young wrestler, athletic, good promo, likable, he's probably thinking, what am I doing here? Maybe I should go to WWE. And I'm pretty sure they'd love to have him. But I think they dropped the ball on him. Conan gave the example that Wardlow winning the TNT title just to lose both the physical belt in a car break-in and then lose the championship to Powerhouse Hobbs could be the decision that makes Wardlow decide to leave when his contract is up. Wardlow was, at least at one time, a dominant force in AEW, and it's been reported that he is on WWE's radar, but what do you think Mr. Mayhem should do next in his career? During this week's Raw, Dominik Mysterio cut a fiery promo ahead of his WrestleMania 39 match with his father Ray and showed off some of his bilingual skills. At one point, Dominik said something in Spanish that riled up the fans in the arena, but what exactly did the Judgment Day members say? Thanks to Denise Salcido of Fightful, we now know, as her translation revealed that Dominik said his entire family was jealous of him because he is taller than his father and, according to Dom, more handsome. Dominik added that his mother and sister, who he referred to as a deadbeat and stupid during last week's SmackDown, always sided with Ray instead of him. Dominik and Ray's angle has proven to be a hit, with WrestleOps tweeting that the video of Ray finally striking Dom last Friday has garnered nearly 17 million views across all official WWE-related social media platforms, and we'll just have to see who is the superior Mysterio at WrestleMania. Now, years before the likes of Rhea Ripley and Ronda Rousey would step in a WWE ring, Jazz proved that a woman in wrestling could be just as tough as the men. In 2006, 2 years after leaving WWE, Jazz returned as part of the revamped ECW, but her time with WWE's third brand would not go well. Speaking during the Cafe de Renee podcast, Jazz explained that at the time, Stephanie McMahon, who was a higher-up in creative, asked Jazz to come up with her own storyline ideas, which the latter was pleased to hear. When Jazz pitched these ideas, though, McMahon told her that the creative team loved the storylines and that they would definitely be used, but that they would be used for wrestlers other than her. Jazz would leave WWE not long after, and the fact that WWE stole her ideas may be why she's never returned to the promotion, but has said that she is one day hopeful for a Hall of Fame induction. As a WWE superstar, Jazz became a two-time women's champion and would face the top women of the time, but her biggest loss came backstage thanks to Stephanie McMahon. This weekend's event will see the third Hell in a Cell match in Mania history when Edge steps into the structure with the Demon Finn Balor. While WrestleMania plans are being kept top secret, we do know that Gangrel is set to be part of the match and have a spot with Damian Priest, but that may not be the only big spot. Speaking to Sportsnet 590, Edge spoke about his preparation for the match and said that he has a history of having some stupid ideas that steal the show in stipulation matches. Edge added that for Hell in a Cell, he has some pretty extra stupid ideas in mind and hopes WWE will let him do at least some of them. The Rated R superstar stopped short of naming what exactly he plans for this weekend's match, but expect both men to lay it all out at WrestleMania 39. And we're ending today with Cody Rhodes, who will go into the biggest match of his career this Sunday at WrestleMania 39. Rhodes' match against undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns comes 1 year after Cody's return to WWE at WrestleMania 38, but he hasn't forgotten those who helped him on his way. On Twitter, Rhodes shared an image of his weightlifting belt that he'll wear for WrestleMania, which includes the names of all the promotions that he worked with during his time away. While not visible in the photograph, Fightful did confirm that Ring of Honor, AEW, and the 2018 All In event are part of this powerful tribute, as the American Nightmare looks to finish the story this weekend in Hollywood.